government screws up everything. There's nothing that it touches that doesn't turn to shit. It's just how it works. It's going to become an expensive, inefficient mess. Now, there was a movement in the last, let's say, decade that gained ground to the point to where it became just part of the discussion. It became part of the campaign trails for a lot of politicians. When this picked up, right, and people became more accepting of this, I said, y'all have an opportunity and you're gonna botch it. I was even arguing with fellow libertarians about this, and they didn't listen because people are so caught up on pragmatism, and pragmatism often is death by cuts. But this is what happened, and as you can see right here, it's coming from the LA Times. California offers $100 million to rescue its struggling legal marijuana industry. The California legislature on Monday approved of $100 million plan to bolster California's legal marijuana industry, which continues to struggle to compete with the large illicit pot market nearly 5 years after voters approved sales of recreational use. Los Angeles will be the biggest beneficiary of the money. So you got, this is again approved by the California legislature, and most of it is going to LA, which is proposed by Governor Gavin Dipshit to be provided as grants to cities and counties to help cannabis businesses transition from provisional to regular license. California voters approved Proposition 64 5 years ago and entrusted the legislature with creating a legal, well-regulated cannabis market. Said Assemblyman Phil Ting of San Francisco, which is a shithole right now. The chairman of the Assembly Budget Committee says we have yet to reach that goal. Many cannabis growers, retailers, and manufacturers have struggled to make the transition from a provisional temporary license to a permanent one renewed on an annual basis. The process requires a costly, complicated, and time-consuming review of the negative environmental effects involved in a business plan. Now, I'm going to show you guys something here. You can still go read this. It was on the Libertarian Republic as well, and Being Libertarian. I believe you can find those over there as well. But steam it for sure. And I wrote an article, and its title was Don't Legalize Drugs, Abolish the Laws. And what you're seeing, and that was that was almost 6 years ago when I wrote that. And even in that period of time, exactly what I said, and I said would happen in the event that this was what y'all pushed for, happened. It's exactly what happened. It's exactly what's happened. And that is, you got an incredibly regulated, taxed market in which, in the event that there's a winner, the government certainly is going to decide winners and losers in its regards. And what we see in this case, your taxpayer dollars, if you're out there, are going to transition life bull crap. Let's say that $100 million. And this is why the decriminalization, if this was the approach that this can be said for any drugs, which the war on drugs is utter failure. And again, imagine the government screwing up weed. And I'm a straight edge guy, by the way, so I'm not even saying this with passion like that. Actually, that was one of my leading statements in the article that I did, and that, like, you know, I don't talk about it as much because this doesn't impact me that much. But I recognize it's the absolute failure and disaster that the war on drugs has been. And the solution was like, you could see it. It was right there, but you had pragmatists. And these are people that I was arguing with, even fellow libertarians, that I would argue with on this issue because they were like, okay, this is like a victory. And I was like, dude, you know how stupid it's pragmatists, for as far as I'm concerned, a lot of you pragmatists who pride yourself in like this incremental sort of incremental change, like that's how you actually pride yourself in it. It's one thing to go for the principle and then take the victory if it's in between, but a lot of y'all shoot for incrementalism, which is not the route to go. And this is why. You see, when the conversation got had about drugs, or rather marijuana, and at least in its legalization, which was the term that I despise, I said that y'all needed to make the adjustment and start pushing for abolition because the conversation was one that so many people were willing to have now and they weren't before. That's the time to push for whatever the actual principled solution is, right? You don't take the incremental bullcrap. It's like, okay, everybody's having the conversation that you've been trying to get these guys to have for decades. Okay, now they're having it. Why on earth would you then take the moral victory? Makes no sense, because this is what you get. You get a heavily regulated, taxed market, which was a worse outcome. I mean, sure, maybe not for everybody, because, he's keeping people out of jail, maybe, depending on what the laws are. Because, I mean, it's still, we talked about this not too long ago with Canada, for example. I mean, you still have X amount, you're still going to jail, on you. So it's not like it was even a full legalization or full or anything like that. But the approach should have for sure been decriminalization and the abolition of the laws. And I could say that for a lot of different things, but this is why. See, a lot of people are short-sighted. They can only see what's they can only see what's directly in front of them. They can't see anything beyond 5 feet ahead of them. So when the problem, though, we said this would be a problem. We're saying this right now with the inflation. It's like we said it would be a problem. You didn't listen, and then it becomes a problem. And this is why, including your beloved Republicans, who campaign like Democrats, campaign like libertarians and govern like Democrats. It's the same thing. These guys are pragmatists, claim to be pragmatists. A lot of them are moving in the opposite direction, so I wouldn't even call them that. But they are getting in the way of liberty, and they are doing nothing but helping the government maintain control over whatever it is. In this case, we're talking about substances, but it can be with anything. If the conversation can be had, which is what you need, is a culture war at the end of the day. So if the conversation nationally, for example, is changed and people are more open to whatever that idea is, that's the time to push for whatever the principal position. You don't take the half-ass route, because what happens is, well, you gave them that bone, they got complacent, and the conversation moves away. That was your opportunity, and you blew it. You fucking blew it. Hope you're happy. You just watched a clip from my podcast, For Canon's Sake. Catch us live at 12 p.m. throughout the week over at youtube.com/YoungRipper59 and follow us over at odyssey.com/@YoungRipper59. If you want to watch the entire video cast after the show is over, just be sure to become a member on the YouTube channel. Of course, the full audio portion of the podcast is available for free on all major digital platforms, or just visit forcanonsake.com.